Good morning, folks. Trying this with the GoPro. Sunday morning, March 4th, I guess today is. Meeting a friend for a ride, so I may not have much time to stop, or probably won't have any time to stop. But new software update. You saw the video on that inside the house. Now we're outside giving it a try. Apparently, average speed may actually not be corrected. So, I guess just a quick intro here. We're gonna go for a ride, a couple hours maybe. We'll see how we do on battery and if power works, and see how elevation commands or elevation fields are working. Again, probably not going to have time to record anything even quickly mid-ride, but I'll try to give a brief summary when I get back and see what's improved and maybe what's still broken. And so not sure if the screen just went blank on the GoPro, but so we've started the Garmin. We'll start the Karoo. It's not showing power yet. The Garmin is also showing 0 watts, but the power meter should be, well, it has a battery, so we'll see what happens. Talk to you later. Hi folks. Shooting with the GoPro right now. Just got back from the ride. Probably still breathing a little hard. So I haven't hit pause on anything yet. But immediately, I feel like I'm always being negative, and it's not negativity. It's just some of these things, or it's not fully negativity. It's just that some of these things you would expect to be working immediately. This number, obviously. This says current. If you can't read it, it says current elevation. I am not 20 feet below sea level. I am probably 120 to 140 feet above sea level. I live on top of a hill in my area. It's not very hilly here, but I am on top of a hill. So this is wrong. I don't know if it didn't have time to calibrate correctly, or if something else happened. I'll scroll backwards quickly. I haven't hit pause on either of these. The GoPro screen keeps turning off, which is distracting me, but it is still recording. So I have no idea if that ascent of 545 feet is correct. I don't display that on the Garmin, so I won't know until I kind of sync these up later. And I'll either maybe try to record something else, or I'll just put a little scrolly bit at the end of this. So obviously percent of FTP is 0 because I'm not pedaling. Percent of heart rate should be dropping slowly. Heart rate zone. I had forgotten I had put this screen on past the map, so the map is here. I should have scrolled out the last time I showed this map. But that gray area is the kind of the route, and we were doing kind of hills today, so we were going in and out of neighborhoods and cul-de-sacs, trying to get some elevation in. Seems like maybe it was more than 500 feet, but I guess the Garmin will tell me, or one of these will tell me, and one will be accurate. Ride time, that's total ride time, 33 miles. I guess that's the average power, and the normalized power zone is 1. This is not very interesting because I'm not doing anything. And then this is the main summary. Obviously I've stopped. Good news is that it looks like the average speed is correct, or it looks way better than it was. So 33 miles. This is 235. This is the whole run time, but I actually had a flat tire, unfortunately, in the middle of the ride. It's also alternating between raining, snowing, and sleeting here today, so it wasn't the greatest of rides, but I needed to get something in, and a couple of friends were going, so that's what we did. So that looks correct, and it's actually dropping a little bit because I'm sitting still, so I'm gonna hurry up and pause this before it drops below 16. So we're gonna stop the Garmin, but we're not gonna save. We're gonna hit this button here on the side, and the $1,000,000 question is, will it upload? So I'm gonna hit save. This is the summary, and I don't know, I think it's just because of the way I have it set. I don't know why there's not an upload button here. So this is the total summary. Some of this looks like it's probably about right. 175 normalized. 36 max, 16 average. Does show the elevation now, ascent and descent, which are close, so I guess that's good that they're close. But you can't, there's only edit button. There's only an edit name button. I'm not going to edit the name. Oh, that's right, it comes up here. So it does come up pretty much right away. It gives you the chance to either upload it now or skip it. There's not a ton of options here. I'm just going to upload this and see how it goes. Not sure why it's back here. Wi-Fi signal strength isn't great right now. I don't know if this is actually going to work. Usually you get a little Hammerhead logo up here when the upload is successful. Oh, there it is. Let's see. It does says activity uploaded successfully, so that's good news. You know, a couple friends noticed the big thing hanging off the front of the bike and asked some questions. And I basically told them what I've been telling you. It's gonna be good if the software gets better, and it's consistently working. Like, you know, initially it just needs to record successfully every time. Like that's the bare minimum, and then, you know, they can tweak some of these things if the uploads to Strava are successful and Strava processes the data correctly. Great. Even if it doesn't display perfectly. So I'm trying to hit save on the Garmin. That's going to save and upload. I think I'm pointing at the Garmin. Excuse the snuffling, but it is below 40 degrees today, Fahrenheit. Interesting that the Garmin seems to be chunking away a little bit more than normal. My phone is in my back pocket, so I don't always have the best of luck. I guess I shouldn't really complain that much about the Karoo. I don't always have the best of luck with this upload working, although it did work today. I'm not sure if that's because I'm immediately in Wi-Fi range. Sometimes I'm doing that in a parking lot without data on my phone or data turned on, so it seems to freak out, but everything looks like it was correct. So I guess we're gonna go inside and check the Strava and see how close everything is. And I'll either put a scrolly bit at the end of this video, or I will maybe record. Probably don't want to really see my face anyways, but maybe I can record. Alright folks, try this again. So here's probably what people are most interested in. This is the on-device data. So this is what the Karoo and what the Garmin reported on the screen prior to uploading to Strava. So as you can see, the time's close, the distance is real close. I'm seeing this slight discrepancy every time I ride, or I guess the 3 times I've ridden. Normalized power was close. I don't know if that's a statistical anomaly there or if that's something actually wrong. Average power was weird. That has a little star mark next to it because I thought that was one of the more important things to talk about. I think maybe the Garmin is set to 0 things, or I'm sorry, to not record when you're producing 0 power, and maybe the Karoo is set to continually record regardless. So we did a lot of hills today, so there was a lot of climbing and then a lot of coasting or minimal power output. I don't know what the difference there is. That's just my speculation. They could tell me, I'm sure. Average speed, again, it's off. It's way better than it was, but it's still off. You know, it's 1.5 miles per hour. That's relatively significant over 30 miles. I don't really understand that other than the fact that the calculation is still not fixed. When we get to the next screen, you'll see that actually Strava in both cases of the uploaded data files reported, I think, exactly 14.6 or 14.5. So the Karoo is the only thing reporting a difference. Average cadence is also off by almost 20. I'm pretty consistently around 85 or 90. I think even with all those hills today, 62. I think it's probably maybe doing the same thing that it's doing with power, where it's including zeros. That's the only thing I can think of. And then the last one is a bigger deal. They have noted, and I noted, I think in the last video, that the all the stuff that appears on the climbing page of the data elements is listed as beta. So, you know, clearly this is off by a lot. I mean, it's you know, off by it's a quarter. I got basically credit for a quarter of the climbing, and that number of 2200 is pretty consistent. I think I might have rounded that when I scribbled down my notes, but the both of the data pages on Strava showed about 21 to 2200 feet. It was within 100 feet or so. The good news on the bottom section there in the parentheses, so maximum wattage, maximum heart rate, average heart rate, max cadence, those were all either identical or close enough that they weren't even worth trying to put in this chart. So, good news that those things are everything on there on the device itself was pretty consistent. I'm going to pause here for a second and switch pages, and I'm going to show the same basic chart with what Strava reported. Right, so here's the Strava reported data page. I forgot to mention on the previous slide, I think I snuck it in there in the text, that there was a time difference between the Garmin and then the Karoo, and that's I believe solely because the Garmin is set to auto pause and the Karoo is not, because of that annoying pop-up that I've reported in or shown in other videos. So I have that turned off on the Karoo. Otherwise in here, pretty much things were much closer, I guess, which is good news. I guess when you upload to Strava, things get much closer. So the Garmin and the Karoo were off by 4 minutes. Yeah, I can't remember which one I paused first, which one I started first. I think I started the Garmin first, but that was on auto pause. I think I stopped the Karoo first, so it doesn't really matter. It's insignificant. It's the only thing that I think that would be affecting maybe is the average speed, and that's only seems to be on the device. So distance, close, not quite exact. Not sure if one's using GPS and one's using wheel spin speed from the sensor that I have. Weighted average power. So I don't think that Strava reports normalized power. If it does, I didn't look for it in the right place. They call it weighted average power. So that's within 3 watts. That seems within, well within a statistical anomaly, I guess, or just, margin of error. Average power, again, here gets much better. This was off by 20, as you saw on the last page, and it's off by 1 watt. So, that's a wash. The average speed, as reported by Strava, was identical. Not sure why it was so slow, other than we were doing a lot of hills today, so that could be accounted for. And I was sort of following other wheels. They had a very specific plan, so neither here nor there. Average cadence, this was another thing. I put a star next to it because it was off by a lot on the previous page, off by over 20, I think. Looking at my notes, yeah, it was 62 on the Karoo itself, and it's 85 here. So again, it seems like the Karoo is adding zeros in where Garmin and Strava are not. And then the climbing here also gets much better. So I think Strava does that by the maps, I guess. I can't remember, and I'm not sure. I guess I should try to find this out so I'm reporting accurately. But, this is off by 102 feet, which, who knows? Seems like it's probably close enough. I guess it depends on how much climbing you're doing and how far that strays. But anyway, much better once it's put into Strava. Would be great if the device reported the same thing, especially if you were doing climbs and you were shooting for a certain distance or a certain elevation change. Obviously having it misreported on the device while you're riding is something that they need to address. So same as the previous page with regards to the other things that are not listed, max cadence, max speed, those kind of things, they were all close enough to not even worry about.
I forgot on the last page also that Garmin reports both the intensity factor and the training stress score on the device, which I believe is something that's on the Karoo roadmap. I think those are, because those are training peaks things, I think those have to be licensed. I'm not entirely sure how that works. I'm sure DC Rainmaker or somebody like that has volumes of information on this. And then the other thing to note is that the Strava values for suffer score, moving time, work in kilojoules, training load, and intensity were also identical. So, you know, it's basically mostly good news at this point. The other thing that's not on this chart and that's on my notes here laying here is that for some reason I only got two Strava trophies, and not that I care about that much, but it's just interesting that two identical rides side by side. I only got two on the Karoo, and I got five for some reason on the Garmin. So I don't know if they were off by just a little bit, and one kind of took precedence and than the other. I didn't look at them in enough detail because I just didn't care. A ride that averages 14.5 miles an hour in the early part of March isn't anything that um, myself or the guys I rode with were really worried about. We were just trying to get some base miles in and get some elevation under our belts in prep for some stuff. So I guess that's it. I'm gonna. The only thing I'll say at the end of this is just there's several people that have put comments and stuff on the videos. That's really helpful. I don't really know, other than just general numbers from YouTube, if people are actually watching these. If they're useful and you think you want to see more of them, then throw a comment up. I realize everybody that posts on YouTube says that, but it does actually help you figure out if people are watching and they actually care, or if they're just watching the first 2 minutes and then turning it off because it's so boring. So anyway, if you've gotten this far, again, we're almost 18 minutes in. Thanks for watching, and I plan to keep these up as long as it's meaningful when the software changes and people want to see what it's doing. So thanks for watching.